Okay.
All right, are you ready?
And action.
Ready. And action. And ready.
Yeah, action.
Okay. Episode 13. Tuesday Talks with Red. Hopefully this will be a little bit lighter than the last two. This one I have titled Imposter Syndrome. And it is about exactly that, imposter syndrome. So this is probably the second most requested topic that I've had since this all started. I've had a couple of people actually say, hey, you know, either do you already have this slated, or something that would be really good for you to talk about would be imposter syndrome. I mean, they posed it in a different way, but ultimately it is on imposter syndrome. And so I already had this on deck for it, but it fits really good in to this slot and for what's coming next. So what is imposter syndrome? Like when I hear that term, I'm not gonna lie, I think of Inspector Gadget. I don't know why, like, it makes no sense, but that's literally the song that I played in my head. So there you go. Welcome to Billy's, you know, innermost thoughts, which nobody wants to dive in there. But here is the definition of imposter syndrome. So, psychological pattern in which an individual doubts their skills, talents, accomplishments out of fear of being exposed as a fraud. Okay? So, I mean, let me be real. There's sometimes I feel like I have imposter syndrome doing this. I'm like, and it literally takes my kids or my best friends to be like, no, you're trucking on, or the feedback I get from you guys, which has absolutely been ridiculous since this started, of that's exactly what I needed, or can we lean in and talk about this, or, you know, I feel like you've just taken the suitcases out of my hand. Like, that's the type of stuff that reminds me, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm just telling my story. I'm just telling my experiences and telling my story. But still, that fear of, or that doubt of, girl, like, you listen, nobody's listening to you. Why are you even doing that? Well, I'm doing this for myself and my children, first of all. But that doubt tries to creep in as to, like, you are not a YouTuber. Like I said at first, I'm like, what's next? TikTok? No, you will not see me doing any dances on the TikTok or the Reels. So don't worry about that. But we all have thoughts. We all have these kinds of thoughts that can paralyze us if we let them. You know, if we sit in it long enough and we believe it long enough, we can be absolutely paralyzed with fear and make it where we're either A, unable to continue down whatever path we're walking, or B, keep lying. Just keep lying to myself that I can do this, even when I'm either failing miserably and I need to stop, adjust, and reroute, or I'm really not failing and I need some validation that I'm not, because right now I'm stuck in my own bubble of doubt. So when I started taking all of the different components of what kind of rolls up into this imposter syndrome, they fell into what I could see was 3 different categories. So we'll talk about those first right now. The first one I want to talk about is me. That's the perfectionist. That is where, you know, nothing is quite right. Like, I can always do better. I can always find a better way. Like, keep striving, keep making it. Like, everything has to be perfect. Everything has to be done right. When I was growing up, I was brought up in a very OCD home. And so, like, I'm talking cleaning 2 and 3 times a week, on our hands and knees, scrubbing baseboards. You know me, I never cleaned up top because I can't barely reach this table that I'm sitting at. But, like, very perfectionist, like toothbrush to the grout 2 and 3 times a week. Like, it was over the top. And so that set a tone for me. You know, there's only 2 ways you can go when you live in that kind of household. 1, you're the same. 2, you're drastically different. Now, I have 2 that live with me that are on the drastically different side. I just have to shut the door and walk away. And then once a week be like, listen, you are cleaning this mess because it stinks. So, I've had to massage and work through that, you know, and get to the point where when they were little, I was very rigid about it, because I'm that perfectionist in me. that, you know, there's nothing quite right. Like we have to get it better. It always has to be better. I've laxed on that a lot. My kids may say that they disagree, but if they'll think back to when they were younger, I have laxed on that a lot. But that is one big category of an imposter syndrome. Nothing's ever going to be right. So that's why it fits up in this category. The second one is Superwoman, whatever you want to call it. So this is the group that is just, I'm gonna fake it till I make it. I am either applying for a job or I've just taken a job that I have zero clues how it really works. So I'm just gonna keep pretending and hope nobody catches on until I can catch on myself and actually do this job, which I've done that in facets of jobs before. I'm like, I know enough. Let me dive in, and then I get to the point where it's like, oh, okay, I can do this. But these are the types that have like a validation addiction, where I constantly have to have you validate me in order for me to keep doing and being who I am, whether it's real or not. Okay. And then this is also the group that has those keeping up with the Joneses. Which, who said the Joneses were the ones to keep up with anyway? But whatever. I know some Joneses and they're perfectly fine. But so that they fall into that Superman, Superwoman category of I have to be this way even though I'm not. You know what I mean? And then there's the last category is what I call Miss or Mr. Unworthy. And this is a group that struggles with, I have a life that I don't deserve. Like, I just don't feel like I deserve this life. You know, I shouldn't have this nice house or this nice car, or I shouldn't have this amazing husband. Do you know who I was when I was younger? Do you know, the life that I walked to get here? I've had to constantly struggle for every little bit. Why do I have something good in my life? Or, I'm really not pretty. Like, I'm just not. Like, I'm just not pretty. When, if you really take a step back and are in an okay frame of mind for that moment, you realize everybody is beautiful in their own right. But that kind of fits up in that category. So how do we talk about flipping that script? Okay. So when we're dealing with the perfectionists, stop. Like, stop. Go easy. I had to learn to go easy on myself. I had to learn to be like, you know what? Or go easy on everybody else around me. It is like, I want to make my bed every day. I just do. Like, I feel more accomplished and feel like I can walk out of my room and breathe when I've made my bed every day. I've been that way since I was a kid. It's carried over into adulthood. It's fine. I had to go easy on the fact that my kids aren't going to make their bed every day. And that's okay. Now, when they were littler, they had to make their bed every day. But here's the thing. That's not a hill I'm going to die on anymore. Like, they don't make their bed. They don't have to make their bed. You know what? Their future whoever can deal with that. Not me. I don't have to deal with that the rest of my life. I just shut their door. Like, I had to learn to go easy. Now, I do have a rule. My only rule in this house is, what is it, Belle?
Clean up after yourself.
See? That was on the fly. She didn't even know that was coming. Clean up after yourself. Now, does that always happen? No. Do I have to shout something? Get in here and clean up after yourself. Clean up after yourself. Like, that's come a long way from the Billy from before, let me tell you, that perfectionist. I also learned to share those mistakes. Apologize to my kids. Tell my friends I screwed up the other day and here's how. And that really begins to break that shell of perfectionism that I have over myself. I placed it there. Society didn't place it there. Experiences didn't place it there. Like, I placed it there. I put that threshold on myself. So that if anything ever falls outside of it, now I'm an imposter. So open up, like be able to open and tell people your struggles and where your failures and where your mistakes are. And it begins to chip away at that perfectionist shell. So Superman, Superwoman, how do we flip the script on that one? So this flies a little bit in the face of what we tend to think, but as a Superman, Superwoman, we need to self-validate. So when we spend all of our time, I'm keeping up with the Joneses, I'm doing all the right things, I'm making perfectly gourmet lunches for my children. Girl, get your lunch at school. When I'm that, it's because I'm looking for outward validation. I'm looking for someone to be like, oh my gosh, you are like the best mom ever. Or you are so precious. You brought your husband his slippers. I don't know. It's been a while since I had a husband. I don't know what you're supposed to do. All those things. We're looking for that outward validation. Okay. For those of us that sit in Superman, Superwoman mode, we have got to learn to validate ourselves from the inside. We have got to find those things that show us we are worth it. Like, we really are, because you are. We all, like, everybody on this planet has so many different gifts and so many different abilities that we spend too much time comparing ourselves to those proverbial Joneses, and we forget who we really are. So we need to learn as Superman, Superwoman to self-validate. And the best way to do that is start writing stuff down. Girl, have you guys heard me say this multiple times on multiple videos? Write stuff down. Write down for the day all the things in your brain that you feel like you're doing wrong and then are not letting you be Superwoman or Superman. And then close it and come back the next day, and I guarantee you'll see some things in there of, oh no, that's what I'm really good at. Like that, I really did that well. Or if you're a journaler, just journal in general. Close that and come back. But for those of you that aren't journalers, write down the things that make you feel like a failure. That make you feel like a failure, and then come back. What was the other one? Ms Unworthy. So for those of us that feel like we don't deserve the life we're living in, we should be, living in a van down by the river, or we should not have this amazing husband. We don't deserve this love that we have. The best thing we can do is start documenting truths. Okay, we got to try to flip the script for a second and hear if anybody gives us a compliment, write it down. Whether you believe it or not, write it down. Write it down. Write it down. Put it on cards, put it on whatever. Write it on your mirror with dry erase marker in your bathroom, whatever. If you hear a compliment about yourself, we're automatically going to flip it and be like, oh, she just said I was pretty because I put on some mascara and some eyeliner today. Guys, I don't normally have on mascara. I always have on mascara because my eyelashes are like paper. So I always have on mascara, but if I hear somebody tell me, oh my gosh, you look so pretty, or heaven forbid they actually say, well, you look skinny, I'm like, it's because my hair goes up. Like, that's my immediate response. It's because my hair goes up now instead of down. That's why I look skinny. I'm not really. Okay, if we want to say that in our mind when it comes, that's fine. But go write down, you are beautiful. You are pretty. Whatever was said to you. Man, you did an awesome job at blah. Write it down. And start looking at it, because we've got to start replacing those lies with truth. It's the only way we're going to break that cycle. It's the only way we're going to flip that script. So for Miss Worthies, Mr. Worthies, that's what we have to do. Now, for everybody, for the perfectionist, the Superman, Superwoman, Mr. and Mrs. Worthy, a couple extra tips that apply all across the board in addition to what we just talked about. So I think if any of us can start acknowledging our weakness, because the thing about imposter syndrome and that hold that it tries to have over us is showing us we're not worthy. In showing us we're not worthy is we live in our cycle of weaknesses. Okay, so instead of feeling shame for that, like, step outside and acknowledge them. I have these weaknesses. Here's what they are, but by golly, here are my strengths. Okay, and just acknowledge it. I have tons of weaknesses. We could sit here all day and I could tell you all of mine, or my children sitting right here could tell you all of mine. No, acknowledge them. Take the power away from them by acknowledging what they are. Okay. I come across this phrase, it's been a number of years ago, and I've heard it shown again and again and again, especially in this COVID time, is seen on the Facebooks, the socials, all the things, where it's like, you know what? Somebody would kill to have your house. Somebody would kill to be you. Someone would kill to have your car, or have your children, or have your spouse, or have your whatever. To be thankful for what I do have, instead of looking at it as, why do I have it? Like, no, be thankful for what you have. And I know that sounds very trite, but it's true. Like, there is somebody sitting out there right now that would love to be me with my 2 children in this home, with my 2 cute dogs, with my cool car. Like, there's somebody that would kill for this. Please don't kill anybody. another episode. Progress, not perfection. Like, try to focus on, if you're journaling, if you're writing those things down, to look at where I've come from to where I am, even if it's this big. I'm not asking for myself to be leaps and bounds beyond where I was. I did not get to where I am today by starting as a child who was prostituted and jumped straight here. Didn't happen. All of my story that I've been sharing so far is from years of refining and refining and refining, steps back, steps forward, steps back. Like, progress, not perfection. Progress, not perfection, is key to breaking any of these cycles that we've talked about on any of these episodes and are going to talk about, is progress, not perfection. But settling into that is the only thing that gets us there. And then this one was really cool. I actually have not done this, but when I was, writing out, where I was going with this, I stumbled across this in a specific article that I was looking up, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is genius. For lack of a better term, it's smart. And I'm going to attempt this. And so I am. I'm making that commitment here with you today. Attempt this. It's called making SMART goals. And here's what it is. Setting goals for ourselves that are specific, that are measurable, that are achievable. Don't be like, I want to be a bajillionaire next year. Like, it's not going to happen. Unless you win the lottery, but specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and have a timeline. Because if we can see something that is measurable, has a timeline, that is realistic, something and we achieve it, we chip away at that imposter syndrome shell that has a hold on us. So that was really cool. So that's something we can learn and do together. So, okay, that's all I have for this week. Up next week, we're going to take worth just a little bit further. And next week, we're going to talk about shame. So come back next week. Have a great week, and I'll see you then.